The flower and the fool Ethan Reed stepped off the shuttle with a smile and a light step. The air on the alien planet Netheris was warm and smelled like sweet fruit and rain. His boots crunched softly on the glowing grass. Trees with silver leaves waved in the wind, and tall plants whispered like they were alive. This was his first solo mission as a junior envoy for Earth's Galactic Council. He had one job: meet the locals, smile politely, and don't cause any problems. Easy, right? Ethan looked around the landing area. A group of Netherians stood nearby, waiting for him. They were tall, graceful, and looked like walking plants. Their skin shimmered with green and gold tones. Instead of hair, they had soft vines and petals growing from their heads. One of them stepped forward. She was younger than the others and had bright violet eyes. A large pink flower bloomed behind her ear. She looked curious. Ethan smiled and held out his hand in greeting. "Hi, I'm Ethan. Nice to meet you." The alien girl tilted her head. She didn't shake his hand. Instead, she reached behind her ear and pulled the flower out. She held it out to him with both hands and bowed slightly. Ethan hesitated for just a second. "A gift? For me? Wow, thank you." He took the flower and tucked it behind his ear, copying what she had done. The girl's eyes widened. Her cheeks flushed dark purple. Around them, the other Netherians gasped. One of them whispered something. Another stepped back like Ethan had just pulled out a weapon. One old Netherian even dropped his staff and muttered, "Oh no, it has begun." Ethan blinked. Did I do something wrong?" The girl smiled, a slow, soft, slightly dangerous smile. "You accepted the proposal," she said quietly. Ethan laughed. "Proposal? What, like marriage?" The girl looked confused. "No. Breeding." Ethan's smile froze. "Come again?" "Breeding proposal," she said calmly. "You accepted my flower. That means you accept me as your mate. It is ancient Netherian custom. Very sacred." The flower behind Ethan's ear suddenly felt heavy. Sweat formed on his forehead. He looked at the others. No one was laughing. Surely this was a misunderstanding, a joke, some alien version of gotcha. But the girl stepped closer and touched his arm gently. "My name is Leore, and now, you are mine." Ethan tried to laugh again, but it came out weak. "Okay, funny prank everyone, good one, you got me, right?" No one answered. One Netherian elder walked forward, looked at the flower, and sighed deeply. "He has accepted. The pact is sealed." Wait, sealed? "No, nothing's sealed. I just took a flower." Another Netherian muttered. "He didn't read the customs guide, did he?" Someone replied, "No human ever does." Ethan raised his hands. "Look, I'm just here for peace talks and friendly greetings. No, breeding. Not today. Not ever. No offense." Leore tilted her head again. "You wear the bond flower. It cannot be undone without trial." "Trial?" Ethan asked. "As in court?" "No," she said. "Trial as in ritual challenge. To deny the bond, you must face the council. You must prove your body, mind, and soul are not compatible." Ethan's face turned pale. Oh crap. A low hum began in the crowd. It wasn't angry. It sounded more like excitement. People whispered, some even smiled. Leore stepped back and nodded formally. "The human has accepted. Let the bonding trials begin." A nearby Netherian placed a vine-marked bracelet on Ethan's wrist. It tightened slightly, warm to the touch. "Wait, what does this do?" he shouted. The elder replied, "It marks you as taken, so others do not try to steal your claim." "Steal?" Leore gave him another gentle smile. "You are lucky. I am a good match. Others will want you too. Be careful." Ethan stared at the flower behind his ear, then at the crowd, then at Leore. This is not what I signed up for," he muttered, as he was escorted toward a large glowing building, vines opening like doors. He looked up at the sky and groaned. "Next time, Ethan, read the damn guidebook." Breeding protocols and bureaucratic nightmares, Ethan sat on a soft, glowing chair made entirely of vines. It pulsed slightly under him, like it had a heartbeat. He did not like that. Across the room, a panel of Netherian. Officials stared at him with blank, leaf-like expressions. "Let me get this straight," he said slowly, trying to stay calm. "I'm in trouble. Because I took a flower." The council elder in the center gave a polite nod. His face was lined with age and sap dripped slowly from his forehead like sweat. "Yes, that is correct." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't know. No, one told me that taking a flower means, hey, let's have babies in your culture." Another Netherian, this one with moss growing from his cheeks like a beard, leaned forward. "The customs document was sent to your diplomatic center 3 months ago. Page 17, courtship and reproduction rituals. You did not read?" Ethan looked away, cheeks flushing. "I skimmed." A third council member tapped her vine fingers on the table. Typical human. Leoray sat to the side, legs crossed, hands folded politely in her lap. She was watching the whole thing like it was a romantic drama show. Every now and then, she'd smile softly at Ethan. Not helping. Okay, Ethan said, standing. "So, let's just undo this. I'll give the flower back. Problem solved." The room fell deathly silent. The elder leaned forward. "You gave the flower to your own head. That is sacred. A self-claimed bond. I just thought it looked cool." "That is worse," Leoray spoke up. "You must understand. To accept the flower is one thing. To wear it is a declaration." Ethan froze. Declaration of what? Of union. Of acceptance. Of willingness to begin genetic weaving. That flower's pollen is symbolic. But it also activates our matching systems. Ethan stared at her. "Matching? What now?" Leoray's smile grew a bit mischievous. "The vine band on your wrist? It's reading your biology, your genetic signature. It's checking if our offspring would be viable." Ethan looked down at the bracelet. It blinked. Once. Twice. Then turned a steady green. The elder stood. "Confirmed match." Ethan's voice went high. "That was not a consent form. That was an accessory," the moss-bearded councilman chuckled. "You are very suitable. Your DNA has high adaptability, strong immune system, excellent bone density. Also, symmetrical face." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Did you just flirt with me?" Strictly scientific, he rubbed his temples. This couldn't be real. He was just supposed to say hello, maybe shake a few vines, not get roped into alien dating shows. "Fine," he said finally. "What happens now?" The elder raised a hand. A holographic screen appeared in the air, filled with alien symbols. Translations appeared in glowing English beneath them. Breeding contract. Stage 1. Consent confirmed. Stage 2. Public trials. Evaluation of physical, mental, and emotional compatibility. Stage 3. Cohabitation testing. Stage 4. Fertility ritual and union ceremony. Failure to comply may result in species-wide diplomatic offense, possible interstellar sanction, or removal of candidate via the reclaiming. Ethan blinked. "What's the reclaiming?" Leoray's smile faded for the first time. "Removal of unsuitable bondmates. Peacefully but permanently." "You mean exile?" "No," she said softly. "We mean you will return to the soil. Your atoms recycled." Ethan took 3 steps back. "I very much do not want to be recycled." The elder sighed. "Then you must proceed with the trials." "I don't even want kids," Ethan shouted. "You may not have a choice," the mossy councilman said. "Your body may adapt." "What does that mean?" Leoray stood. "Netherian bonds are not just legal, they are biological. Once the flower's bond is accepted, your body begins to change, only slightly at first, faster if we touch." Ethan's brain was screaming. She stepped closer. "You are already changing. Haven't you noticed your heartbeat syncing with the vine band? The way your pupils adjust in our atmosphere? The fact that you haven't eaten in a day but still feel full? Ethan froze. Oh, crap. She was right. The elder nodded. The bonding is active. The process has begun. There was a long silence. Ethan looked at the room. So, let me guess. If I back out now, I either spark an interstellar war or get composted. Correct. He laughed. Loudly. Too loudly. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. This is why I don't date on Earth either. Leore tilted her head. I understand this is difficult, but I did not choose you for nothing. You are kind. Curious. You made the children laugh when you landed. Ethan blinked. Children? She smiled. Yes. One of them painted your face on a leaf. You are already becoming known here. Great. So now he was a celebrity and a fiancé. The elder clapped once. You will begin the first trial tomorrow. Physical compatibility testing. Do not worry. There will be no contact. At this stage, Ethan turned to Leore. And if I fail? Her voice was calm. Then I lose my claim. And you will be placed into general circulation. He paused. What exactly does general circulation mean? Other Netherians may make their offer, she said simply. And some are not as gentle as me. Ethan swallowed. Well, he muttered, guess I better start stretching. The trials begin, and they're very personal. Ethan woke up in what could only be described as a leafy prison spa. The walls were soft vines, the bed was a cocoon. The alarm clock was a glowing mushroom that sang ancient Netherian lullabies until he punched it. Today was the beginning of the first trial. Physical compatibility testing, which, in Netherian culture, apparently didn't involve running on a treadmill or lifting weights. Nope. It started with naked jungle meditation. And of course, no one told him that part until he was already standing in the forest barefoot, wearing nothing but a nervous smile and a few strategically placed leaves. I am so going to die out here, Ethan muttered, crouching behind a glowing fern as a vine creature slithered past him. It winked. From a floating platform above, the trial observers watched in silence. Tall, regal Netherians in layered robes. Their expressions were unreadable, their clipboards definitely full. Leore sat on the edge, legs swinging playfully as she watched him struggle with a vine mat that refused to flatten. You must center your mind, she called down. Let the forest speak to you. I'd rather it didn't, thanks, he shouted back. The last tree tried to grab me. That's a sign of acceptance. It grabbed my butt, Leore. It's very accepting. Ethan sighed and sat cross-legged, eyes closed. The trial had begun. Trial Phase 1. The Listening Grove Inn. Netherian tradition, bonded partners had to demonstrate emotional and mental openness. And what better way than by letting psychic plants root around, in your memories. The Listening Grove wasn't just a forest, it was alive with bioempathic energy. The plants could feel your thoughts. If they found lies, fear, or emotional instability, they'd show you, literally. As Ethan sat, tendrils slid from the ground, brushing his fingers, ears, chest. He shivered. Then, flash. Suddenly, he was 10 years old, hiding in a closet during a thunderstorm. Alone. Flash. Now 17. Heartbroken after his high school girlfriend dumped him for a guy named Derek who could do backflips. Flash. Then his first failed space exam, where he hit the wrong button and ejected the simulation pod mid-test. Memories, fears, embarrassments, all laid bare like a reality show filmed inside his brain. He groaned. Okay, I get it. I'm emotionally messy, the trees whispered. But then, they changed. The air around him softened. The tendrils pulsed gently. A warm glow filled the grove. Acceptance. The forest had seen his worst and didn't reject him. The vine bracelet on his wrist buzzed once. Trial 1, complete. He exhaled. Then the floor opened beneath him. Trial, Phase 2, Biochemical Harmony, Ethan. Dropped into a chamber filled with thick mist and glowing crystals. It smelled like lavender and battery acid. Here, his body would be tested for biological alignment. A Netherian medic floated in on a bubble. She had 4 arms and smelled like mint. "We will now measure pheromone resonance and internal frequency balance," she said calmly. "Please remain still while I scan your chakras and possibly your spleen." My what now? Before he could protest, tiny drones zipped out from her sleeves. They hummed around him, pinging off his chest, eyes, ears, and, why was one hovering? Around his butt? "Unusual hormonal pattern," she said, poking a crystal screen. "Possibly stress. Also, low blood sugar. Have you eaten?" "No." She handed him a glowing fruit. It pulsed in his hand like a tiny heart. Ethan sniffed it, licked. It then took a bite. His pupils dilated. His body buzzed. Colors swirled in front of his eyes. He felt everything. Joy. Calm. A strange desire to hug the medic. "Oh God, the fruit is drugs," he whispered. "Technically a stabilizer," she replied, adjusting the screen. "Your readings are stabilizing. Netherian compatibility is unusually high." The drone near his butt beeped twice. "What was that one scanning?" "Reproductive stability." Ethan's face turned red. "Why is it humming 'Let's get it on'?" "Cultural translation glitch." The medic floated away. "Proceed to final phase." Trial Phase 3. The mirror of intent. Ethan walked, still a bit woozy, into a small chamber with a single object inside, a shimmering mirror, not glass, but water suspended in air. In it, his reflection looked wrong, slightly off, like the version of him that would be if he fully bonded with a Netherian mate. His skin had a faint glow. His eyes shimmered faint green. Vines curled softly around his neck, not like choking, but like decoration. He stared. This was him, or could be. "If you choose her," said a voice behind him, "this is what you will become." He turned. The elder stood there, alone this time. "If you walk away, your DNA will return to normal. The vine band will wither. You will forget her scent, her voice, her bond." Ethan stared into the mirror. "And if I stay? You will change, not just body, mind, heart. You will never be fully human again." He took a breath, and the mirror shimmered. It showed Leore, smiling, standing beside him. He didn't know what to think. Did he want this? Was this even real? Before he could answer, the vine band on his wrist glowed. It didn't buzz. This time, it pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. His heartbeat. Outside, later Ethan emerged from the trials with wild hair, glowing skin, and the look of a man who'd just been emotionally unpacked by a jungle. Leore stood waiting. He walked toward her, slowly. She raised a hand. "You passed. All 3. He nodded. "Yeah. Somehow." She smiled. "You are strong." He paused. "And now what?" She stepped forward. "Now," she said softly, "you live with me." He blinked. "Wait, what?" "The cohabitation trial, 1 moon cycle, to see if we can live as one." Ethan groaned. "You snore, don't you?" he muttered. "I bloom at night," she replied. "It balances out. DNA, danger, and a little too much destiny." Ethan's new home was a glowing, vine-wrapped cottage on the edge of a Netherian jungle. It looked like it had been grown rather than built. The walls were alive. The windows blinked occasionally, and the bed sometimes purred. He hadn't slept properly in 3 nights. Why? Because his body was changing. At first it was small stuff. He could see a bit better in the dark. His sense of smell got stronger. He could tell Leore's mood just by the way her scent shifted. Cinnamon when she was happy, mint when she was amused and lemon pepper when she was annoyed. But then came the bigger things. The vine band on his wrist had spread. It wasn't a bracelet anymore. It was climbing up his arm like ivy, tiny glowing root threads weaving under his skin. He wore long sleeves now, even when it was hot. Leori pretended not to notice, but he caught her watching, and sometimes, when she thought he was asleep, she placed her palm over his wrist and whispered something in Netherian. The dreams. That's when the dreams started. At night, Ethan saw flashes of a forest that didn't exist, dark and endless, full of glowing eyes and whispers. Sometimes he dreamed of roots digging into his spine, pulsing, connecting to something deeper than the soil. Sometimes he saw Leori, except older, different, wiser, like she was already living in his future. And worst of all, sometimes he wasn't himself in the dream. He'd move, speak, breathe, but the person in the dream wasn't Ethan. It was something more, something other. The first mutation had happened on day 10 of cohabitation. Ethan was helping Leori collect glowing fruit from the forest trees. They were called soul berries, and apparently they ripened faster. When someone told them jokes, Ethan told a knock-knock joke to a bush and the bush visibly wilted. "That one doesn't like puns," Leori said, laughing. He grinned and reached for a berry, and the tree reached back. Its branch bent toward him without being touched. The fruit detached itself and floated into his palm. Ethan stared. "Did I just telepathically harvest a tree snack?" Leori's face turned serious. "It has begun." "What has?" She stepped closer and took his hand. Her fingers brushed the vine mark on his wrist. "It's not just biology. You're syncing with Netherian energy systems. Our world recognizes you now. You're connected." Ethan stared at his arm. "I didn't ask for this." "I know." He pulled away. "Is this why I've been dreaming of things that aren't real?" "They're real. Just not in your timeline yet." He froze. She looked at him gently. "The bond doesn't only change the body. It changes your perception, your place in time. That's why Netherian mating is rare. Most outsiders don't survive it." His voice was quiet. "And if I don't survive?" Leori looked down. "You return to the soil. Again with the soil." Ethan was really starting to hate that phrase. Warning from the underground. That night, there was a knock on their vine door, not a tap, a slam. Ethan opened it and was met by an Netherian unlike any he had seen. This one was older, darker, wrapped in thick bark-like armor. Her eyes glowed red. She looked like a tree that had lived through war, and won. "Come with me," she said. Hi. No. I live here. I am Vaith. I'm with the Root Guard, the secret protectors of Netherian purity." Leori stepped in front of Ethan. "You are not welcome here." Vaith ignored her. "You should not have chosen a human, especially this one." Ethan frowned. "Hey, I'm standing right here." "You are a seedling of chaos," she said coldly. "Your DNA is too reactive. It's not sinking. It's absorbing." Leori blinked. "That's not possible." "It is with him. The vines on his arm? They're not ours anymore. They're growing from him. His body is copying our biology and making it its own." Ethan stepped back. "Are you saying I'm turning into a Netherian?" "No," Vaith said grimly. "I'm saying you're turning into something else, something neither human nor Netherian, a hybrid, and hybrids are unstable." Ethan looked down at his wrist. The vines were glowing again. Vaith stepped closer. "You need to end the bond now, before the next phase." Leori blocked her path. "He's passed all the trials. He is mine. Then you'll share his fate," Vaith growled. With that, she vanished into the night, melted into the vines and shadows like smoke. Ethan turned to Leori. "What did she mean by next phase?" Leori's voice was soft. "Your DNA is almost done shifting. When the transformation completes, your body will either stabilize or collapse." And when does that happen? She hesitated. Tomorrow, during the fertility moon. Ethan laughed, high and hollow. Of course, the romantic moonlight part, perfect timing to explode. End of the day. That night, Ethan sat alone outside their cottage. He looked at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, floating peacefully, full of people who had no idea that picking the wrong flower on an alien planet could turn you into an interspecies science experiment. The vines on his arm shimmered. He touched them. They pulsed back, not like a reaction, like a conversation. They weren't just part of him. They were aware. He heard something then. A voice. Not Liore, not Vaith. Something deep, ancient, rooted beneath the surface of the planet. Seed, sprout, bloom. He stood slowly. The vines grew, slightly, sliding over his shoulder. Ethan Reed was no longer just human, and something was waking up inside him. The rebel bloom. The fertility moon rose over Nitharus like a glowing eye, full, red and humming. Yes, humming. Ethan stood at the edge of the clearing, staring up at it while the vines around his body shimmered softly under its light. They weren't just decorations anymore. They were part of him now, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat, growing slowly down his spine, wrapping his left leg like a curious snake. Tonight, the bond completes, Liore said, stepping beside him. Her skin glowed softly in the moonlight. You will either become or be unmade. He tried to smile. Wow, not even dinner first? She didn't laugh. She was worried. So was he. Deep in his gut, in the new part of him he didn't recognize. Something stirred. It felt like a blooming flower wrapped in static electricity. And it was growing. Liore, what if I don't want to become anything? You don't have a choice, she whispered. The bond is living now. You're not just wearing it, it's reacting to you, evolving with you. Great. That makes me feel totally safe. Before she could answer, the ground beneath them shook, not a natural quake. This one was rhythmic, deliberate, marching, and then they arrived. The rogue faction. The bloomless, out of the trees came a dozen Nitherians, armored in dark petals, and bark-plated suits. Their vines were sharpened like blades, coiled around their limbs like whips. Leading them was Vaith, the elder who had warned Ethan earlier. But now, she wasn't alone. She was backed by the Bloomless, a secretive, militant sect of Nitherians who had rejected the ancient ways. They believed in purity of species and feared any hybridization with outsiders. They also really hated Ethan. Step away from the human, Vaith commanded. He is no longer safe. For you, for us, for the planet. Liore moved in front of Ethan, her vines coiling defensively. You have no right, he has passed the trials. He has survived the trials, Vaith corrected. But now he changes the rules, look at him. Ethan's vines glowed brighter under the moonlight. His eyes were no longer fully human. The pupils were sharp, vine-shaped slits. His blood pumped in two rhythms, heart and root. Vaith stepped closer, eyes locked on Ethan. You feel it, don't you? The energy inside, the pull of the roots beneath. You are not one of us, not anymore. You are becoming something unnatural. Ethan swallowed. Believe me, I'm not exactly thrilled about that. The bond must be severed, Vaith growled, before it blooms. What blooms? Ethan asked. Liore didn't answer. Vaith did. A second mind, one older than both our species, buried in the Nitherian genome, dormant for centuries. We have always feared it waking. She pointed at him. You are the trigger. The rebel within. Suddenly, Ethan dropped to his knees. Pain exploded through his spine, his vision blurred, split into layers. He saw the world as it was, and as it could be. Time folded, space twisted. He saw Liore as a child, then as a queen. He saw himself rooted into the soil, a tree of light rising from his chest. He gasped as vines burst from his back like wings. Not large, but alive, reactive, protective. "Leore!" he shouted. She rushed to him, just as Vaith screamed. "Stop the bloom!" The bloomless charged. Leore stood her ground, arms wide, vines lashing like serpents. Ethan could barely move. His body was fighting itself. Inside his mind, he heard the voice again. "Seed, sprout, bloom." "No," he shouted. "I'm not ready. You were chosen. You are fertile soil. You carry the bloom." A vine from his spine shot into the ground. The earth shook. Something answered. The bloom awakens, a wave of energy burst from Ethan's body, knocking half the bloomless flat. The vines on his skin pulsed like fire, no longer green but blue, laced with electricity. Leore grabbed him, shouting over the chaos. "Ethan, you must focus. Don't let it control you." "I don't know how." Vaith rose, bleeding golden sap from her forehead. "He's becoming the prime root, the ancient one. If he blooms fully, we all fall under its will." "What is the prime root?" Ethan screamed. Leore's voice trembled. "A forgotten god, once sealed in our DNA. It can only awaken if someone carries both foreign and Netherian code. A hybrid." Ethan's jaw dropped. "So I'm a plant god baby daddy?" Leore didn't answer. She was too busy deflecting razor vines from the bloomless. Ethan looked at his hands. They were no longer his, not completely. Fingers tipped with bark, skin glowing, a root system running beneath. And somewhere inside, something was watching, waiting, ready. The fight, the flee, the fallout. With the last of his control, Ethan screamed, a sound that wasn't just human. The forest bent toward him. Trees listened. Roots moved. The bloomless hesitated. Then with one final pulse of energy, Ethan collapsed. Leore caught him before he hit the ground. The vines receded. His skin dimmed, but the damage was done. The prime root had stirred. Vaith stood silently, bloodied, her warriors broken. She looked at Ethan, unconscious, breathing softly, vines still faintly glowing. "Mark my words," she said coldly. "That thing in him is no ally. It is the end of all roots." She disappeared into the trees, leaving behind silence and crushed soil. Leore held Ethan close. "You're not just mine anymore," she whispered. "You belong to something far greater." She looked at the moon. "And it's not done with you yet." The final trial, fusion or farewell. Ethan woke up to silence, not the peaceful kind, the waiting kind. The air felt too still, like the planet was holding its breath. He sat up slowly, body aching, the vines on his skin dimmed but still pulsing, like embers after a fire. The place he was in was not his home, not the vine cottage, not the jungle. He was in the grove of decisions, a circular field surrounded by ancient Netherian trees, all twisted and massive, bark carved with glowing runes. In the center, a stone table, smooth as glass, covered in shifting lights and symbols. Above it hovered a floating sphere of roots, like a heart suspended in time. Leore stood at the edge of the circle, alone, pale, still. "You're awake," she said softly, without turning. Ethan stood. "Where are we?" "This is the place of the final trial. No more tests, no more rituals. This is where the bond either completes or ends." His throat was dry. "Ends how?" She turned to him finally. Her eyes were red. She had been crying. "If you reject the bond, the prime root will be forced back into dormancy. You'll return to Earth fully human again, no vines, no powers, no connection to me." He nodded slowly. "Okay, what's the other option?" Leore stepped closer, but not too close. "If you accept the fusion, you will complete the transformation. Your DNA will fully hybridize. You'll become a living link between our species." Ethan frowned. "Like a bridge?" She hesitated. No. Like a seed. He blinked. Oh. Your body will host the rebirth of the prime root. Your mind will remain, but your consciousness will stretch beyond. You'll see across time. Feel every living thing on this planet. You will not be human, or Netherian, you will be something new. Ethan laughed nervously. That doesn't sound like fusion. That sounds like obliteration with extra steps. Leore didn't argue. I didn't choose this, he said. No, she whispered, but you were chosen. Visions of tomorrow. The stone table activated as he stepped closer. Images swirled above it. Futures. In one, Ethan stood in an Earth UN chamber, vines woven into his skin like armor. Beside him stood Leore. Behind them, Netherians and humans shook hands. The first interspecies alliance. In another, Earth cities, wrapped in living towers, streets grown instead of paved, pollution gone, climate healed, a new Eden. In another, fire, screaming, vines spreading uncontrollably, consuming entire planets. Ethan's face, and not human anymore, whispering to a planet as it turned to root. The final vision was simply a tree, so massive it split a moon in half. Its branches held stars. The root pulsed. Choose, bloom or break. Ethan backed away. I didn't want to be a god. I just wanted to survive one diplomatic mission without causing a galactic panic. Leore stepped toward him, now tears streaking down her glowing cheeks. I love you, Ethan Reed. But if you choose the bloom, you may not love me anymore, you'll be too far beyond. He looked at her, and if I don't choose it, then I'll lose you, and the root will sleep, until the next hybrid is born. But it won't stop. This cycle always returns. Ethan sighed. And Vaith? She's gathering the bloomless. If you reject the bond, they'll call it a victory. They'll crush our traditions, close our borders, end the chance for unity. So either I destroy myself, or I destroy your people's last hope. His voice cracked. What kind of choice is that? The final fusion ritual. Suddenly, the table pulsed. It had sensed readiness. The root sphere above it unraveled like fingers opening. A core floated out, a seed glowing, pulsing with the heartbeat of the planet. It hovered between them, Leore whispered. If you take the seed, it fuses with your core. Your body will bloom. Fully. No turning back. Ethan stared at it. It was beautiful. Terrifying. Alive. And it wanted him. The seed floated closer. He looked at Leore. She was shaking. Will I still be me? He asked. She couldn't answer. So he turned to the seed and reached out. The interruption just before his fingers touched the seed, the ground exploded. Vaith, and the bloomless. Dozens of them, vines like knives, petals like blades. We won't let you become it, Vaith screamed. She launched a vine at Leore, who ducked, and then everything moved at once. The table shattered. The seed fell. Ethan caught it, and in that moment, everything stopped. Time froze. Inside the root, Ethan was no longer in the grove. He stood in darkness, endless. Around him, echoes of voices. Earth, Nithorus, stars, animals, plants, children, not yet born, and the prime root stood before him, a tree in the shape of a man, a god made of memory and bark. You are the first to reach me in 10,000 cycles, it said. You burn with chaos, but also love. Will you be my vessel? Ethan stared at it. You're not just a power, he said. You're a decision, engine, a world shaper. Yes, and if I say no, I sleep for another 1,000 years, and life stays small. Ethan thought of Earth's wars. Netherius' fear, the walls, the wasted time. He thought of Leore's hand on his cheek, of laughter, of her quiet kindness. He made his choice. I won't be your puppet, he said. I'll be your partner. He placed the seed in his chest, and everything exploded. The bloom of unity time resumed. Ethan rose above the battlefield, body wrapped in light. The vines on his skin burst into color. His voice echoed with 1,000 harmonies. Enough. The Bloomless dropped their weapons. Leore stared, stunned, tears on her face. Faith stepped forward and dropped to her knees. You are the true Prime Bloom. No, Ethan said. I'm something new. He turned to the shattered table and grew a new one, instantly. From the soil, a living bridge between species. A second chance. Humanity. Upgraded. The world felt quiet now. Not silent, but calm. Ethan stood in the middle of the grove of decisions, barefoot on warm soil, body wrapped in soft vines that shimmered under his skin like bioluminescent veins. He wasn't glowing like, before he wasn't floating, he was just Ethan. But also more. The seed had changed him. He could feel the thoughts of the forest, the slow, deep voice of the mountains, the heartbeat of Nithris thrumming gently under his feet like a lullaby, made of roots and stone, and yet he still had sarcasm, still had fear, still had her. Leore approached him slowly. She was cautious, not afraid, but reverent, like she wasn't sure if she was walking toward a man or a myth. Are you still in there? She asked. Ethan turned and grinned. I'm still me, he said. Just extra me, like me 2.0, with plant-based Bluetooth. Her eyes filled with tears and laughter at the same time. A world transformed in. The days that followed, Nithris changed. Fast. The Bloomless didn't vanish, but they faded, retreating from their aggressive stance. Some even asked Ethan for guidance. A few planted trees in apology. One just left a very confused squirrel holding a note that said, sorry. Ethan could now speak to the planet directly, not with words, but with intent. He would step into barren land, and hours later it would bloom. Dead soil reawakened, rivers rerouted themselves to avoid villages. Sick trees healed at his touch, but he didn't act like a god. He still tripped over vines when he got distracted, still rolled his eyes when the council called emergency meetings to debate vine etiquette in public places, still spent his evenings sitting with Leore on their roof, watching the moons rise, eating spicy glow fruit and laughing at how weird life had become. But inside him, the root was always whispering. The Earth Dilemma. The council eventually asked the question. Everyone had been avoiding, what do we do about Earth? They weren't hostile, but they were concerned. If the humans found out about Ethan's transformation, they might not celebrate it. They might try to replicate it, or worse, weaponize it. And Ethan knew Earth well enough to know they absolutely would try. He stood before the Nitherian High Assembly, now joined by hybrid advisors, reformed Bloomless elders, and even a few talking trees. Don't ask. We can't just hide what's happened, he said. Humans will notice I stopped emailing eventually. A few council members chuckled nervously. I have to go back, Ethan continued. Not as your experiment, not as your god, as your ambassador. Leore stood. I will go with him, she said. Gasps, murmurs. You would leave your world? One elder asked. Leore nodded. He is part of this planet now, but he is also part of another. And if we want peace between them, someone must walk both paths. Return to Earth. The shuttle touched down on Earth 3 weeks later. Ethan stepped out first in a simple gray uniform, except for the tiny vine twined around his wrist, pulsing gently, not glowing, just breathing. Leore followed, wrapped in a flowing dress of living petals that changed color with the air. She looked like a walking sunset. Earth's council was waiting. Suits, scientists, secret agents pretending they weren't secret agents. Silence stretched. Then Ethan grinned and waved. Hey. Sorry I missed the last few reports. Got a bit planty. Out there. Still silence. Then a woman in a lab coat whispered, His pupils are shaped like leaves. Yeah, Ethan replied. But my sense of smell is amazing now, so please stop talking about me like I'm not here. The offer inside, a secure UN chamber, Ethan laid it out. No secrets, no lies. He told Earth everything, the trials, the bond, the route, the choice, and then the future. I'm not here to give Earth Netherian tech, or superpowers, or vine suits. I'm here to offer a connection, but only if Earth is ready to grow it naturally. This isn't about evolution, it's about understanding, about balance. I'm not your weapon, I'm your warning. He paused. Let that settle. Then he smiled. But I'm also your friend. And I've got some really amazing fruit. Recipes. The Root Network begins 1 year later. The Root Network initiative launched. A small biosynced research outpost on Earth. A twin outpost on Nithorus. Only bonded humans and Netherians could pass freely between them, those whose DNA had started to harmonize through shared connection, not genetic engineering, no labs, no clones, just unity, grown, not built. Legacy Ethan and Leore settled between worlds. They didn't marry. Netherians didn't really have weddings, but they bonded in a deeper way, a living, breathing link that allowed them to feel each other's emotions, share memories, even finish sentences without speaking. Sometimes Ethan would walk barefoot across Earth's red deserts and whisper to the ground. Grass would grow, rain would fall, and children, both human and Nitherian, would come running after him asking, "Are you really the man who picked the flower?" And he would smile. "Yeah," he'd say, "and I'm still trying to figure out how to give it back." Final scene. Deep Root Chamber, Nethorus. Core in the deepest part of the planet, beneath the oldest tree on Nethorus, a chamber bloomed, open, glowing walls moving slowly like breathing lungs. Inside, a single massive seed. It pulsed with light, and within it, a second heartbeat, a whisper. Ethan was only the first. The bloom has begun.